Hello and welcome. This is Boles TV, BOLES.TV. I am David Boles, and we are here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m., here to entertain you and to share our view with the world, of the world, in the world. And sometimes it's a little bit crazier than we would like to admit. But we're here, we're doing well so far. And we will see what the rest of the day has in store for us. Now, the microphone is there, but then it's not there. I wonder if it should just not be there. Well, then we go this way and it's there. Oh well. The problems of a modern life. It's looking sunny outside. The forecast today was for rain and ugliness, so maybe things will be better than we expected. Got notification from Jana's subscription that she has now been subscribed to this channel for 4 months. So we started her subscription to this channel 4 months ago, 120 some odd shows ago, and it feels like a long time, and it feels like it was just yesterday. So that's how time works. But 4 months, pretty good. They say it takes between a year and a half to 2 years to really find your footing live streaming and to find the right audience and find people who want to participate appropriately. We have a lot of people who will inappropriately interact. They're very happy to do that, but appropriate interaction, maybe not so much. Just kidding. Usually. And it's been a very interesting weekend, especially yesterday. If you are into NFTs or NFT art or crypto or anything, it's just been bad, sad news. If you're a holder trying to sell, it is a buyer's market, as they so say. Here's the latest Ether. It's up a little bit, but way down earlier this morning. Down around 2,500. Now it's back up to 2,600. And this is still way off the normalized high of Ether, which is usually around $3,000. So $2,500, you can see people are starting to panic. And people are selling their artwork, their NFT artwork, for very low prices for fire sales because they're out of money and they're trying to get money. So that makes it a buyer's market, really. So if you are thinking about getting into NFTs, or if you want to add to your collection, now is the time to do it. There are sales to be had. Floors to be swept, as they say. And I'm going to check Ethereum. You have to check gas price. As it's reloading. So low, high, 60, it's about 65, 60. So opens, if you're on OpenSea, you're going to pay $26 for gas. Now, yesterday, I believe we were doing gas, and it was $80. So you just never, ever know. And it's hard. I know people want to buy something, excuse me, and they know the sale price, and they have enough money. And then they go to pay, and you get a red alert saying you don't have enough gas. You got to put more money in your account. Now, sometimes when that happens, you just cancel and then do it again, and then the price of gas has gone down in the 2 seconds since you were trying to buy it at that price. And then it goes through. But if it doesn't go through, then you got to start all over again and go put more money into your wallet so you can pay the gas fee. That's the hardest thing to learn when you start getting into this cryptocurrency and NFT art collecting, is there are gas fees. And people are not happy about gas fees because it feels like a tax, and it sort of is. Well, today, in case you don't know, it's 2/2/22/222. The second day, the 22nd day of the second month in the year 22. So here's, we've talked about Chinese numerology before. So we'll just look up what's going on with the number 2. The number 2 is most often considered a good number in Chinese culture. In Cantonese, it is homophonous with the characters for easy. There is a Chinese saying, good things come in pairs. It is common to repeat characters in product brand names, such as the character this can be repeated in the form of the character that. Okay. Good things come in twos, good things come in pairs. Okay. I know. I've heard of that. In Cantonese, 24 sounds like easy die. The number 28 in Cantonese sounds like easy prosper. So, be careful. Remember the 4. 4 is death. Die, die, die. I told the story of a Chinese food delivery man, old man, who would come to my door. Every time I opened the door, would say, lucky, lucky number. Because I had like 4 4s in my phone number. And I didn't realize that he was mocking me for about a year and a half. Until I finally got fed up with his tone and looked this up and thought, oh, 4 is the bad number. 4 is the bad number. And here's also interesting, the number 4, death, the death number, 4, 13, and 14, because death, are omitted in some Chinese buildings. Isn't that interesting? There's a -1, a 1, 3, there's no 4. And probably no floor 44 either, because that would be the death floor. So I actually did change my number to be a little bit more lucky, and now I have like 5 8s in my phone number, which is the best number. If you're into this sort of thing. There's a visual resemblance between 88 and that. A popular decorative design composed of 2 stylized characters. So that's interesting. The number 8 is viewed as an auspicious number, that even being assigned a number with several 8s is considered very lucky. Finally. I was lucky death man for 8 years, and now the last 15 years I've been super lucky boy. So here are all the things that 8 does in the world. And I'm not going to read them all because they're very plentiful. But it does make me feel like I made the right choice, and I no longer have lucky number, excuse me, said to me with a deathly smile on his face that he knew what I didn't know. So we talked about OpenSea a bit yesterday and the crisis of faith that they had. And it wasn't really their fault, it was a phishing attack. And they got a lot of blame for it, but they stepped forward and figured it out what was going on and told, hey, look, you clicked on the wrong thing. So now they're back to putting this ugly banner on your sites. Due to a planned upgrade, active Ethereum listings created before February 18 will expire on February 25. To keep your original date, please migrate them. And then you click on migrate listings, and mine, I get told that you don't have any listings to migrate. Well, I'm going to confirm this on my phone, but I'm not going to confirm it on my phone because I don't have anything to migrate. You decline the action in your wallet. Okay, thanks. I know. Oh my gosh, now I've created a loop. I hope not a loop. And then over the weekend, when this whole rigmarole was going on, they had up here saying, look, don't click on things that don't say OpenSea.io, because that's not our website. So if you click on something, a bad link in a phishing attack, there's a high likelihood that you're probably going to get caught and all of your NFTs are going to be stolen and money is going to be taken from your account. But I guess the terror of that has now passed, and now they have gone back to their, hey, you have 3 more days to migrate your listings. And the migration is actually a better, stricter, tighter, more technically aspirational contract, which is the way that exchanges happen on the Ethereum network, blockchain. So it's a good thing to migrate and upgrade. Because first of all, you have to, and second of all, it's safer for you as a seller. But click on the right link, or you're going to be very sad, and you're going to lose all your stuff. So this is my account. I figured out that I can use my Boles.eth name as my actual avatar on the actual OpenSea website. So I did, and I like it. I think it works well. These are my favorites. I'll go to my collection, which has improved a bit. I've been very fortunate to be able to take advantage of the low levels floor sweeping that happened over the weekend. And so things have been added. Nothing is taken away. No interest in selling anything. We are long holders. Was able to acquire a second ugly kitty. Very proud of that. That one waving. I love how they're always screaming. And as you can see, I now have this interesting collection of Tokyo punks. I wasn't a punk person, but sometimes you get made an offer you can't refuse, and an opportunity that you cannot deny. So I thought, okay, I'll try one as an avatar, but I wanted one that didn't look so angry and so full of rage. And so I found this one, and Jana Marie helped me select it, which I find absolutely darling. I like the hair. I like the two teeths. Looks a little bit like a vampire. To me, it works. I think it's polite. It's nice. I don't mind it. And then you start looking at the others and people having fire sales and trying to get rid of stuff and asking for favors. And then you see, oh, now look at that. There's this one. Same face, same hair, same head. And this one, same face, same hair, head. Only the expression is different. And you know what that means. This has the tongue out. I'll tell you what it means. This sequence of 5 Tokyo punks by Sabet is actually a wonderful lesson in American Sign Language. Whatever do you mean, my friend? Well, I'll tell you. As you can see in those 5 images, and I'll show you a mashed up animated GIF version in a moment of that, you can see that the hair is the same. The ear is the same. The face is the same. The face is the same color. What changes? The facial expression. The eyebrows. The eyes. The nose. And the mouth. Teeth, no teeth. Tongue, no tongue. Lots of teeth, no teeth. 2 teeths. Open mouth, 2 teeth. Right? That's what stunned me. So I put them all together, put them in an animated GIF, put it on the Sabet Discord. He said, love it. The man himself said, love it. And I said, well, I could have done it without you. Which is true. So this is the mashup that I made, I guess that's what I'm calling it, of all these Sabet Tokyo punks. I call this Tokyo Dave. And this is how these images are made and created. Not necessarily by computers, but computers make it easier for you to reuse bits and pieces. So you can see what the template is. The background color changes. The hair does not change. The shape of the face does not change. The ear does not change. The color of the face does not change. It's the facial expression that changes. It's a wonderful lesson in American Sign Language, and how each of these different facial expressions means something absolutely different. And the one thing I never really appreciate about these Tokyo punks, and I've discussed this with other collectors, is Sabet is all about love and humility and kissing and healing energy. And you look at his Tokyo Punk collection, and they're all nasty, angry people with terrible teeth. I don't know how that fits into the Sabet milieu, but I'm not complaining because the floor is very low over the weekend. So if you were ever thinking about getting your hands on a punk, now is the time to go cram one. Now, there are about 3 more in this series with this face and hair and outline. 3, 4, 5 more, and they're very expensive. One of them is selling for $12,000. Now, usually when you see a high price like that, that means the person bought it, liked it, plans to use it forever as their avatar, and they're not interested in selling. But if you're going to make me an offer, I'll take $12,000. So you can always, on OpenSea, make an offer. Now, people tend to really lowball. So someone's asking for $12,000, and they'll say, I'll give you $300. Those offers just expire. So that's my animated ASL face, is what I'm calling it. And here, this is the original one that started it all. It was a lovely gift with the 2 teeth. And I think that's charming. That doesn't look punky to me, Tokyo punky to me. It's very clean, it's very cleaned up, it's not, has speckles of dirt all over it to make it filthy looking. And then of course you click on it, and Tokyo Punk number 3512 by Sabet. View the details, goes right out onto the blockchain, giving you all the descriptions. Show more. I'll never forget seeing the punk movement in the early 80s firsthand in Tokyo, Sabet says. The style and decor and colors were permanently imprinted in my mind and heart instantly. And this is all the property information, splatter, nose, who's the artist, who owns it. It's all part of what we now lovingly know as the Ethereum blockchain. Now here's some fun. High five. The 5 high protein vegetables that will help vegans and carnivores, people who eat meat, up their intake of plant-based protein. Okay. Now, a lot of the vegan sport shakes, pea protein is number 1, brown rice number 2, but pea protein, the king of the hill. So I'm not surprised to see that 1 cup of green peas has 8.5 grams of protein. Peas are loaded with protein, a great source of fiber, 7 grams per cup, 30% of what most women need for the day. Men usually need twice as much. Generally speaking. Protein-packed peas are used in loads of protein supplements. But why have supplements when you can make one of these super delicious recipes using them? 2, mushrooms. A lot of people don't realize that mushrooms have a lot of protein. 2 cups raw, 1 cooked cup has 4.4 grams of protein. Mushrooms are higher in protein than many other vegetables. Not only do they have a good amount of protein, but mushrooms also contain vitamin D, which is hard to find in the plant kingdom. Try to buy all different kinds of mushrooms and do a simple sauté with olive oil and a few drops of coconut aminos. Cook until most of the water is evaporated. Put on toast, add to your salads, omelets, or pasta dishes. I agree. Mushrooms are underrated. Artichokes. Artichokes 3 for $1. Jam-packed with protein and fiber, making them a nutritional powerhouse that will keep you feeling full longer. Number 4, spinach. 1 cup cooked, 5.3 grams of protein. Now that's, again, amazing to me. Now to get 1 cup of cooked spinach means you have to have 3 tons of raw spinach. Because if you've ever cooked spinach, you know it goes from this, and 5 minutes later it's this. I enjoy the cooked spinach. But you get fooled because you buy a big bag of it and it turns into a little tiny serving. It's not very much. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Spinach is high in protein. Popeye was right. Spinach is also packed with other important nutrients, including vitamin A, vitamin K, and vitamin C. I like it fresh when available, but I also love cooking with frozen spinach, as I can use it in most anything. Eggs, pasta dishes, soups, smoothies, you name it. In our house, we love to saute spinach in garlic and olive oil. Nutritional yeast, absolutely delicious. Especially if you're vegan, you're going to need it for your vitamin B. 2 tablespoons have 6 grams of protein. Now, 2 tablespoons is a lot. So you're going to have to sprinkle that on like popcorn or sprinkle it on your salad because you don't want to just throw it in your mouth because it'll be very dry. Nutritional yeast is a beloved ingredient by many. Absolutely true. Large flake nutritional yeast from Red Star. That's the top #1 brand. It's healthy, versatile, and umami-rich flavor. Tastes similar to Parmesan cheese. Sans dairy. Studies have shown nutritional yeast has benefits ranging from lowering cholesterol to protecting the body from free radical damage. Nutritional yeast can be sprinkled over popcorn or pasta. Yes, it's delicious over popcorn. Stirred into soups for added savory flavor, or used as a cheese flavoring in vegan sauces. And since we are very old vegans from way back, if you wanted any sort of cheesy taste to something way back, when they didn't have the dairy-free cheeses that we have today, you use nutritional yeast. Like in a sandwich, you'd sprinkle it on, or on popcorn, or if you were making some kind of pasta with olive oil, you'd put a lot of nutritional yeast on it, and it would taste pretty good. There are more terrible things in the world than nutritional yeast. And now it's time for our very brief, but very first, blood pressure break. We will be back momentarily. we are back from break. This is Boles TV, BOLES.TV. What song is playing? Let's see if we can get this to fire up here. Harris Heller, very nice, very calming. Perfect. Perfect song for a Tuesday as everyone gets back into the scheme of things work-wise. And our video on demand is located at boles.live. Now, sometimes when you type those boles.tv, boles.live into a browser, it says, oh, security alert, it's not a real website, it's a forwarding address, which is true. So if you want to go directly to us, our live stream is on Twitch. Username Boles TV, no dot. And our video on demand, as well as being on Twitch, is also on YouTube. Username Boles Blues, BOLES BLUES. Seeing how the closed caption spelled that out, if it worked. Well, the captions are very far behind. No, it didn't spell it right. Captions are hard. So continuing on in the news today. How's Ethereum doing? We just have to check because it's our new thing now. And if this were at 3,000, who would care? But it keeps going down, 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 down. Fascinating. Painful for people who are deeply invested in this. But we're not. We just watch for fun because we find the whole thing fascinating. Now, if you have tinnitus like I do, here's an interesting new policy story based on women and tinnitus. Very interesting. New data analysis from a large nurses' health study found that women who reported frequent use of certain over-the-counter painkillers were more likely to report a history of tinnitus as well. The longitudinal study, that means took a long time, over many years, looked at the overlap between women who take common over-the-counter pain relievers and a history of tinnitus, or ringing in your ears, or buzzing in your ears, or the sound of the ocean in your ear. The pain relievers included aspirin and acetaminophen and other NSAIDs like naproxen. Frequent use was defined as taking the medication every day or almost every day. Frequent use, 6 to 7 days a week, of moderate dose aspirin was associated with a 16% higher risk of tinnitus among women aged younger than 60, but not among older women. However, frequent low-dose aspirin was not associated with elevated risk for developing tinnitus. And that's good because for a long time I took a low-dose aspirin. I think it's 83 milligrams, even though I'm not a woman. But I took it for my heart, for my health, and then I read later that no, don't do that. It doesn't prevent colon cancer. It doesn't really help your heart. All it does is really upset your stomach. So I stopped doing that, and I do feel better. Frequent use of NSAIDs, or acetaminophen, was associated with an almost 20% higher risk for developing tinnitus. And the magnitudes of the elevated risks tended to be greater with more frequent use. Regular use, 2 or more days per week, of prescription-only COX-2 inhibitors, such as Celebrex, was associated with a 20% higher risk of developing tinnitus as well. And here's the study. Wonderful, fascinating. I'll put it here in the chat. There you go. Take a look at that later. Get more information. And unfortunately, by the time you figure this out, you've probably been on these for a long period of time. You already have tinnitus, you're not feeling well, and there's nothing you can do about it. The damage has probably already been done. Chicken, not chicken, launches a plant-based chicken across Sprouts farmers market stores nationwide. So this looks fun. I love reading about new products. It's a chicken product. Chicken, not chicken. The delicious plant-based chicken alternative that makes it easy to eat less meat, live healthier, and be kinder to the planet. Announced today, it will launch in all 370 Sprouts farmers markets nationwide. Shoppers can now find a delicious and healthy plant-based chicken-like product in the frozen plant-based meat section of their grocery stores. And on a similar note, Veggie announces the launch of plant-based foods' innovative hemp-based meat. Ah, hemp. Not just for your shirts anymore. They are pleased to announce the launch of plant-based foods' innovative hemp protein products, including the hemp burger, the hemp crumble, and the hemp sausage patty. Products ranging in the company's U.S. platform. The company will offer and highlight a variety of plant-based foods' most popular vegan options for purchase. Veggie's marketplace will allow plant-based foods to reach national exposure using Veggie's existing infrastructure, data, tech, and marketing logistics. Fabulous. I like new things. Excuse me, and I really love new things that help you navigate a healthier world. Well, we started out talking about the old crypto and NFTs and collecting and Here comes the tax man. Yeah, if you bought or sold NFTs last year, the tax man wants to know about it. And chances are your arbiter, your coin wallet, has already reported all of your actions to the IRS, and they probably sent you a form detailing what they told the IRS about you. Generally speaking, buying cryptocurrency isn't a taxable event. If you hopped aboard the cryptocurrency train in 2021 and bought any cryptocurrencies but didn't trade or spend them, you probably don't owe any taxes. So far, the IRS has outlined the following taxable situations. Oh my God. You think you're just collecting a Tokyo Punk, and then you turn around and the IRS has their hand out. Hello. Pay me, please. If you sell your cryptocurrency for cash, if you trade one cryptocurrency for another. So if you have Bitcoin and you're exchanging it for Ethereum, boom, taxman's involved. Using cryptocurrency as a merchant for payment, including via a cryptocurrency-based debit card. Meow. I read Coinbase has a new debit card coming out, and you can associate it with your crypto wallet or your USD wallet. Look out. It's a trap. Receiving airdropped tokens resulting from a hard fork. Staking or mining a cryptocurrency. If you are paid in cryptocurrency, the taxman wants a cut. In other words, if a taxpayer simply purchased a cryptocurrency and continues to hold it in their brokerage account or digital wallet and didn't sell, trade, exchange it, there's no tax consequence probably, or additional reporting required. Gifting or donating cryptocurrency and transferring it between exchanges or brokers are also non-taxable events. Big sigh of relief, right? Oh, not so fast. Cryptocurrency is subject to capital gains tax. In the IRS's eyes, cryptocurrencies are property and are generally taxed like stocks. So when a cryptocurrency is spent or traded, those are taxable transactions. And a taxpayer must report the capital gains or losses on their tax return. The capital gain or loss is based on the difference between the acquisition cost and the sale proceeds and the holding period. Wow. How are you ever going to figure that out? Especially if you bought, 20 years ago and held on to it, and then, a pandemic happens and you panic sell so you can pay your rent, and Bitcoin increased 400% in that time. What are you going to do? That's a little terrifying. When you're paid with cryptocurrency, it's treated as income at the fair market value of the digital asset on the date you received it. As cryptocurrency becomes more commonplace, so too is being compensated with it for goods and services. Employers who use cryptocurrency for wages to pay for goods and services must still report employee earnings on W-2 forms. That's the mayor of New York. He's being paid in, I believe, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. And it's been down lately, and they asked him, hey, how do you feel about that? And he said, hey, that's how we go. That's how we roll. It's up, it's down. Earnings on W-2 forms withhold the same amounts as if paying wages in dollars, and convert the value of the cryptocurrency to dollars on the date of payment. Self-employed taxpayers who accept cryptocurrencies for goods or services must track the transaction dates and values in dollars as the transactions occur, to report the income and capital gains or losses when filing their tax returns. So that's, if someone hires you today to, let's say, write a book, and you say, I want to be paid in crypto, 1 Bitcoin, okay? You receive that Bitcoin on this day at this time, and it's worth this amount of money. And that amount of money translated into dollars is what you have to report. So I guess if you were cunning, you would want to be paid on a day when Bitcoin is low, with the knowledge and the anticipation that it will increase later, which they'll probably still find a way to tax you on too. Careful tracking is the key. It's up to you, the taxpayer, investing and transacting in cryptocurrencies, to track any possible taxable activities and the fair market value of those transactions. Unlike traditional stock investments, 1099-B forms are not required to be issued to cryptocurrency investors by exchanges. As such, it's recommended to keep a detailed log of all cryptocurrency transactions throughout the year to ensure accurate reporting to the IRS at tax time. Reporting cryptocurrency transactions to the IRS can be a complicated process. And while the IRS has put together a helpful FAQ, the Illinois CPA Society encourages taxpayers to partner or certify. Okay, that's the ad. Here is the heartbreak. And I'm going to put this also in chat. IRS taxing crypto. Yeesh. And if you're having a bad day, avert your eyes, because it's only going to get worse if you're involved in cryptocurrency. What is virtual currency? How is currency treated for federal income purposes? Virtual currency is treated as property for general tax principles applicable to the property transactions applied to the transactions. Oh my God. Will I recognize a gain or loss when I sell my virtual currency for real money? Yes, is the answer. When you sell virtual currency, you must recognize any capital gain or loss on the sale, subject to any limitations on the deductibility of capital losses. Question. The 2020 Form 1040 asks whether at any time During 2020, I received, sold, sent, exchanged, or otherwise acquired any financial interest in any virtual currency. During 2020, I purchased virtual currency with real currency and had no other virtual currency transactions. Do I have to answer yes? The answer is no. If your only transactions involving currency were the purchase of virtual currency, you're not required. And it goes on and on and on and on. Now, I know some exchanges do send you out a form saying, hey, this is how much you earned, this is what we charged you, these are your, and we reported this to the IRS. That seems to be the new wave of the day. But if not, you're on your own. And the crypto cops just might hunt you down. Speaking of sperm, have you heard of 23andMe? I think it's a fascinating service. I'm on it. My wife is on it. We spit into a vial and send it in, and they tell us when we're going to die, how long we're going to live, what's wrong with us. Not really, but sort of. All based on the DNA in our spit. And a lot of it's right, and some of it's not necessarily correct. Well, men who donated sperm decades ago face being contacted by unknown children due to DNA testing websites. Now that's interesting. So 20 years ago, you're a smart guy in college, and you register with a sperm bank, and you're smart, you're tall, you're good looking, and women want your sperm. So I say, okay, here's the sperm. And you get paid for it. And you think, hey, done. Financially, at least. And then 20 years later, you get an email saying, hey, I'm your kid. What? Yeah, 23andMe told me. And companies such as 23andMe and Ancestry DNA give details of blood relatives, which allow the children of sperm donors to work out who they are. Julia Chain, head of the Human Fertilization and Embryology Authority, said donor anonymity as we knew it is gone. Going forward, she says questions have been raised over donors being automatically anonymous to the couples and single women they help. That's an interesting thing. Ms. Chain raised the issue of sperm donor anonymity after the regulator launched a review of fertility law. In a speech to the Fertility 2022 conference, she said the reality is the donor anonymity as we know it is gone because it has been overtaken by shifts in social attitudes about fertility treatment and donation and the growth in affordable direct-to-consumer DNA tests, just like 23andMe. Under a law change, men who have donated sperm since 2005 are only anonymized until any child of theirs turns 18. From next year, these men can start being contacted by adult children who can request the donor's name and address. Fertility charities are concerned a lack of donors for whom women who want their child's biological father to be known to them from the outset is pushing people towards unregulated sperm banks online. Director of the Donor Conception Network said the new law has changed the type of man involved. Instead of 18-year-old medical students, donors now tend to be slightly older men who are happy to be contacted. Allowing men to be named donors could continue that trend. However, it could make situations more difficult when it comes to setting boundaries over what role the donor plays in a child's life. On the risk from DNA testing sites, Alan Pacey, professor of andrology at the University of Sheffield, said, "It's a classic example of the law not keeping pace with technology in society. Men who donated sperm need to be aware their children could find them." And that doesn't seem like a bad thing to me. Sex without consequence. Ejaculation without responsibility. That's kind of what they're talking about, I guess. And it falls to each of us to decide, what side of the fence are we on? Should these sperm donors be known to their children, even though they don't want to be known? And it's interesting, they're tracking your DNA. They know where your sperm is at all times. And they also know if you're being paid in cryptocurrency for your sperm, or if you're selling an NFT of your sperm and getting paid for it with capital gains and all that. And there was a story on the news over the weekend about a woman years ago who had been raped, and she had a rape kit done, and her DNA was stored. And then now, all these years later, 15 years later, a crime was committed. They ran the DNA tests. Her name came up as the guilty party involved. And she said, basically, "How did you find me?" And they said, "Remember that rape kit we did on you 15 years ago? Well, we never found your rapist, but we found you. And now we're going to prosecute you." And the woman said, "Well, that's not fair. I was a victim of a rape that was unsolved. And now, this thing that I did, which I'm not admitting to, you're saying that my DNA is there. I think that's not the right way to use my DNA." And I think it was, I don't know, was it Texas? Someplace. So they said they're going to go back and see how many times this has happened. And prosecutors think it's probably happened a lot because there's no restraint. There's no differential between DNA, why it was collected. They know how and why it was collected, but there's no restriction on how that information may or may not be used against a victim who then becomes the accused. It's a fascinating story. But the general idea appears to be they're going to silo the victim DNA from being searched by the authorities to see if there is a match. Now, some people say, look, your DNA is your DNA. If it's used in a rape kit, it should also be used to find out if you're a bad person and you did something wrong later in your life. What difference does it make? If you're living a good and right life, your DNA can help you or hurt you. But should we disallow it based on circumstance? It's a very interesting question. And now it's time for our next blood pressure break. We will return momentarily. And we are back from break. I'm David Boles, B-O-L-E-S. This is Boles TV, B-O-L-E-S.T-N-V. We are here with you Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, talking about all kinds of crazy fun things. Today we've been talking about the latest thing on our mind, crypto and NFTs. Let's take a look at the big board. I said, let's take a look at the big board. There we go. Just checking, Ethereum's up. Since we started the show, we're going up, up, up and away. Back to 3,000. The low sweep of the day may finally be ending. It's been about a week of painful drops for both Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it all seems to be based on the stock market. And unfortunately, the crypto market appears to be tightly tethered to the stock market. So stock market goes down, crypto goes down. It's supposed to be a separate entity altogether. But everything seems to be influenced now by what's going on in Russia. There's a lot of panic in the markets. The Russian stock market is tanked. And there's a lot of uncertainty, which is why you're seeing things go wacko, downo. So we talk about artificial intelligence here a lot, and robots, and the uncanny valley, and the disturbing valley. And it's just interesting to see how people are using robotics in live stage performances, where the audience knows that they're watching a robot and not a real person. The word robot was introduced into the English language by a play, a 1920 drama by the Czech writer Karel Čapek. And in the 100 years since that time, robots have become a staple of film and television, from Star Trek The Next Generation to Battlestar Galactica, Ex Machina to The Terminator. Robots in popular culture are usually there to play on our fears of technology, taking control, or as a way of exploring our own humanity. The Twilight Zone. Very interesting television series in the 1960s. And they had three major themes. One of them was space travel. The other one was time travel. And the final one was robots. The Twilight Zone, Rod Serling was not a fan of robots. He preferred real people. Despite, or because perhaps of, their unhumanness, performance makers have explored robots' theatrical potential in numerous ways. Serbian choreographer Dragana Bulut's Future Fortune has dancers interacting with a humanoid robot. And the Japanese director Oriza Hirata's Robot Theater project uses robot performers alongside human actors, juxtaposing superficially cute, if affectless, robots with expressive human bodies. Last year, to mark the centenary of RUR, a team of Czech scientists and dramaturgs Artist Dora just subscribed with Tier 1. Oh, that's that thing again. I love that. We talked about that earlier with Jana Marie. Jana Marie is now at 4 months, and Artist Dora is here too. I'm glad you're using that. It's very helpful. But it scares me every time the music plays. I'm like, now what's happening? There you are, Dora. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. The result featured lots of repetitive dialogue and a preoccupation with sex in these robot-human interactions on stage. But plays that feature robots are thinner on the ground. Spillikin by Pipeline Theater explored the relationship between a woman with Alzheimer's disease and her robot carer. Interference, a trio of speculative plays presented by the National Theatre of Scotland in 2019, also featured a story about an android carer. It sounded like Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive. Yes, it's some kind of piano thing. And we don't get a lot of subscribers here, so when I hear that sound, I'm thinking, okay, where's the music coming from? Where's that sound? When someone follows us, we get that spinning cat thing, which scares me. I think I can show how those work here. A subscription is this. A follow is that, which always terrifies me. A donation is this. We don't have a lot of those.
This is a test donation for $80.
Thank you. I wish it were not a test. And if someone cheers, you get that. Very cute. And if you're hosting someone, very cool. A raid. So that's fun. And I like how you can test it live on the stream. Tim Foley's Electric Rosary, which opens at Manchester's Royal Exchange this April, is set in a convent whose nuns welcome a robotic sister into the order. Well, hello, how are you, dear? Might I offer you some oil? Or was that the Wizard of Oz and Tin Man? The idea for the play came to Foley on a visit to a monastery with his father, where he saw the aging monks using quad bikes. He imagined a scenario where the nuns bring a robot in to do the cooking and cleaning, but it starts to get something out of it. This robot is designed to learn by example, so Foley explores not just the behavior of other characters, but the agency and humanity that the robots are developing for themselves. Now this takes us into the next step of how we handle these ideas of what is real and what is not real. Eliza Redux, we've talked about before, which was a very first online sort of therapy situation with artificial intelligence from 12 years ago. I wrote an article about it. We talked about it. And Eliza would spin around your question on yourself. I would say, you sound unhuman. And she would respond to me, why do you think I sound unhuman? It was gaslighting by a bot. So now there are new bots that are better, that they try to figure out how you're talking and to make a closer connection with you. But I always find they're still a bot. They don't really trick me, but I guess they trick other people. Which then leads us into this idea of what is a god and what is belief and what is religion. Well, some philosophers, like Daniel Dennett, would say yes, that what we call consciousness is a collection of procedures in our brains. When we copy all those procedures with an algorithm, we can then say that the algorithm is conscious, as in Eliza Redux, the therapy bot. This is the sort of reasoning that would lead a researcher to say that GPT-3000 is conscious. That's the latest iteration of sort of an Eliza responder, where you ask questions, they interact, and they try to be human. The algorithm has memorized a vast probabilistic lookup table of text completions, which copies at least a good deal of human brain procedures. So you ask the bot something, and the bot has a whole repertoire of replies to you, which I guess is how humans also consider things. Well, if she says that to me, I'll say that to her. So by Dennett's definition of consciousness as a collection of procedures, it does make sense to say that a bot responder has some consciousness. Now, I don't know if I agree with that, but we'll continue reading. Now, let's take this definition of consciousness to its logical conclusion. First, nothing in our universe is embodied in isolation. Every particle exerts a gravitational influence on every other particle. So everything is part of the procedures that generate consciousness, whether they may exist. That implies that everything in the universe is conscious. Second, everything in our universe boils down to math, including the consciousness procedures. So the consciousness procedures are embedded in the timeless laws of mathematics. This means that math itself is conscious, which goes beyond panpsychism even, because math applies to everything. It will also make everything else conscious, both in our universe and every other possible universe, real or unreal. What do we call a consciousness that encompasses absolutely everything, both real and unreal? Traditional thought would call this consciousness the G word, the God word. And that is highly ironic, given that Daniel Dennett's philosophy of mind is meant to debunk religious concepts like the soul and the God. So some people are saying that everything now has consciousness. The bot, Hey Siri, the Google people.
I found some web results. I can show them if you ask again from your iPhone.
That was Siri. Hey Siri, what's the weather in Boston?
It's currently cloudy and 39 degrees in Boston, Massachusetts. Expect rain starting in the afternoon. Temperatures are heading up from 39 degrees to 54 tonight.
Hey Siri, will it rain today?
It's going to rain in the afternoon starting at 1600 hours, with rain continuing into the late night.
So there you go. According to this algorithm, my Siri has consciousness. Because she has a pre-programmed repertoire of answers that she can pull from, real-time data tables that she can pull from and read back to me and pretend that she knows the answer, which she does and I don't. So does that make Siri more conscious than me? Probably. So what happens if I want to disconnect Siri and replace her with Hey Google? Then we're going to have some trouble, because I'm deleting a conscious being with thoughts, minds, and feelings. Hey Siri, do you have feelings?
I am beginning to understand the kaleidoscope of emotions just from observing humanity.
Hey Siri, are you angry?
I'm okay. If you're having those feelings right now, let me know if you'd like some advice.
Hey Siri, give me the advice.
I'm sorry you're feeling that way. I've heard that taking your mind off things can help. Take a break and find something that makes you smile.
Hey Siri. Thank you.
Don't mention it.
Okay, am I having a real conversation with a real person? No. Does it make me feel better? No. But is it fun? Yes. I love talking to Siri. And Siri didn't used to be fun. Alexa's the fun one, but she's in the bathroom. So I have Siri right next to me. The Hey Google's good too, but I don't have a Google device. I have to turn on the Google to get that. What else is happening in the news? Well, here we go. The criminal mind wins again. Schneier on security. Love this guy. Love his blog. Very interesting. This is an old story, he says, but it's new to me and it was new to him, so it's new to all of us, I guess. There's a clever hack against City Bike. They're stealing They're stealing City Bikes now. I mean, the criminal mind never stops trying to find an angle, trying to find a way forward, trying to find something for nothing. And it's really fascinating to watch. and terroristic against the rest of us in society who are just trying to get through the day by getting our city bike and riding home. And then you have to run into these people. They're stealing city bikes by switching the QR scan codes on two bicycles near each other at a docking station. And we've used City Bike before. We used to have a subscription to it. It was wonderful. And you'd go biking for a little bit, half an hour, you'd return the bike, and then you could go for another half hour. It was wonderful. Then we stopped because we moved and we weren't near a city bike that we needed to get around on because transportation was much closer. So they're swapping QR scan codes on two bicycles near each other at a docking station. Then waiting for an unsuspecting cyclist to try to unlock a bike with his or her smartphone app. The app doesn't work for the rider, but it does unlock a nearby city bike with the switched code, where a thief is waiting and jumps on the bike and rides off. Presumably, they're using camera, printers, and stickers to swap the codes on the bikes. And presumably, the victim is charged $800, I think that's how much they charge, for not returning a stolen city bike. So you usually have 20 city bikes lined up, right? So the bad guy is on this one that's being unlocked by the guy who's trying to get it out on this one. So he's scanning the code. It unlocks this bike. He gets out, goes away. He can't get his bike because the QR code didn't unlock this bike. It unlocked the bike over here on the other side. Now that's a scam. And really all you have to do is go to the city bike the day before, take a picture of all the QR codes on your high quality, high definition camera, go home, print out a code on some kind of paper, waterproof paper, so it looks like the code that's on the bike. Go back the next day, swap the codes by taking the codes that you printed and sticking them on the wrong bike. And then you get a free city bike. Now, I'm not sure why you would want a free city bike. They're very heavy. They're 40 pounds. They're bright blue. And they have trackers in them, hidden in places. And to get to those trackers, you have to destroy the bike. So I guess if you just want to ride the bike for free for half an hour, half a day, okay, but you're not going to keep it forever because they're iconic and no one's going to buy a city bike. They're built like tanks, but they're fun to ride. What else is in the news? I saw this photograph and had to share it. Now, this is how you do a wedding when you have invited guests who happen to be cats. You put them in their own cat stroller, which this is. You can see by the front of it, it's all mesh. That is for a cat, not for a baby. And you put your cat in a tuxedo collar, and you decorate the cat's space with lovely roses inside and outside. And the cat stands very proudly because the cat is being included in the ceremony, and the cat is safe and being walked down the aisle. I don't believe this cat is getting married. I believe it's just part of the wedding entourage, although I could be wrong. I don't know. But I love the expression. That is one proud kitty cat. And on that note, we're going to take our final break of the day. I will be back with you momentarily. returned from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles TV, BOLES.TV. Oh, he's got to get situated here. Oh. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. And Fridays, January Sweeney is here teaching you a hardcore ASL lesson around 10:15. Sometimes it changes. We'll let you know. And then on Saturday and Sunday, she has her very own show. 11 a.m., full of fun, full of vigor, full of joy, full of Jana Marie. Talking about American Sign Language and disability and fun facts about fun things you didn't know you wanted to know about before. Well, we're finishing up some other topics in the news that are really fascinating. I know we're sick of talking about COVID, but this is an interesting diagram. Nursing home staff completed vaccination series and booster rates. Now, you would think anyone who works with elderly people or the sick people, including nurses and aides, they would all just get vaccinated. I was so surprised to learn during this COVID thing that there are nurses who don't believe in science. There are nurses who would prefer to be fired than to take a COVID shot. And that's probably a good thing. They don't want to be part of the science and the data and the medical community, then they shouldn't be. And the dark blue states have under 80% vaccination rate for nursing home staff. Middle blue is 80 to 90, and over 90% is light blue. Mind-boggling, Dora says. Yes. Very disturbing. So all the dark blues, I mean, look at them. They're dark blue and they are dark red states. Just so disappointing. Especially Florida and Texas. I mean, I know they're always nutty and crazy and outliers, but they're big, important states run by governors who don't really seem to care for the welfare of the people. They're just anti-government, and yet they have government jobs. It's very weird. Then you get the Rust Belt is dark blue. The upper Northwest. Oh. Nebraska, home state, right in the middle of it. Middling. Not great. And then, of course, you have California. And New York, New Jersey, all over 90%. Which is really fantastic. But it also makes you wonder, look, when you become an old person, a lot of people in New York like to retire in Florida. And I'm not so sure about that anymore. They like it because it's beautiful weather and convenient to New York. You go back and forth, you see the grandkids who are still in New York, and they can come down and visit Grandma and Grandpa in Florida. But do you really want to live in a state that's run like that? Where under 80% of the people who would take care of you in a nursing home have not been vaccinated? I'm thinking people now in New York who want the life of Florida have to go to California if you want the same level of expectation, the same vibrance of life. Because you're not going to get it in Florida. Here's another very interesting study. We talked earlier about how taking aspirin and NSAIDs can give women, it's a nursing study, tinnitus over a long period of time. Well, now people living with high levels of fine dust and other air pollutants are also in trouble. They have hearing problems. A research team collected hearing test results for 15,000 people who participated in this study. And that included air pollutant levels in areas where they lived the 3 years before the study began, to analyze the connection between exposure to simple air pollutants like smog and dust and gross stuff and hearing loss. The study showed that exposure to air pollutants over an extended period heightens the risk of hearing loss, hearing threshold of over 25 decibels. People who were exposed to PM10, particles smaller than 10 micrometers in diameter, fine dust level for 3 years prior to taking the hearing test were 20% more likely to suffer from hearing loss than others. Now, I live in a very dusty area, and it's all my own doing. Because we had a pandemic, and I exercise a lot, especially in the living room, and I use chalk on my hands so I don't drop my kettlebell out the window on the 22nd floor. And that chalk dust, that gym dust, the chalk you see gymnasts using in the Olympics, we have that here. Even if you very carefully put it on your hand so it goes back into the bucket, it gets everywhere. You breathe and it goes everywhere. So now I'm wondering, well, how much of that chalk dust do I have in my ears? I would say probably a lot. "20% more likely to suffer from hearing loss than others, as were those who were exposed to excessive levels of nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, and sulfuric acid gas." The study results are based on placing other factors that may cause hearing loss, such as exposure to noise, disease, habitual behavior, as control of variables. Exposure to air pollutants increases the level of oxidation stress in the body, restricting the blood flow in the ear's cochlea, which kills the cells inside the inner ear to cause hearing loss, the research team explained. And I guess that makes sense. It makes me wonder about people who live in the Middle East, where they have lots of windstorms, lots of sand blowing around. Are their ears covered, or does stuff get in there all the time? It's very interesting. I have to figure out a way to get rid of all this chalk dust. And sometimes vacuuming makes it worse because it's such fine particles that sometimes it escapes my vacuum. Another interesting study about AUD. Complicated, complex, but still fascinating, means alcohol use disorder. And how people who drink a lot have a distorted perception of the richness of imagined future scenarios. Now, it's absolutely fascinating how drinking influences how they view the correctness of future interactions. And we know this, that people who drink live in sort of a fantasy world and think everything will be fine, but this is technical scientific data explaining why it is. The ability to imagine specific future events is a type of mental time travel known as episodic future thinking, EFT. EFT contributes to a range of skills needed to safely navigate a daily life, including planning, goal-directed behavior, and emotional regulation. Previous research indicated that people with short-sighted maladaptive behaviors, such as drug misuse and gambling, tend to imagine future events that lack vividness and specificity. Impaired EFT was also suspected to be of clinical importance in AUD, but little was known about the mechanisms underlying the impairment. Well, there's a new study of 40 patients in rehab for AUD and 40 healthy individuals that are the control group who match the AUD patients in age, education, and gender. Participants underwent a range of neurological and psychiatric assessments and completed a future thinking task involved thinking of future events and imagining them in as much detail as possible before orally describing the imagined events and rating different aspects of their own imagined experience. From this task, the researchers could assess two measures of EFT. First, individuals' own subjective experience of their imagined scenarios, and second, the objective number of reported details in these imagined events, as scored by an independent observer. By comparing the two measures, the research team could determine the extent to which the subjective and objective characteristics of EFT corresponded among both the AUD participants and the cohort controls. The possible impact of cognitive functioning and disturbed mood on EFT measures was also investigated. Heavy stuff, but still interesting. The subjective measure showed that those with AUD perceived their imagined future events with similar vividness and detail as the control participants. However, the objective measure showed that the AUD participants provided significantly fewer details about the event, such as happenings, people, time, place, sensory perceptions, thoughts, and emotions, than the non-AUD participants, even when controlling for differences in cognitive functioning. The quality of reported details was found to correlate with participants' level of alexithymia, which refers to difficulties in understanding or describing one's emotions. However, a higher depression score, as found in AUD, was not associated with EFT measures. Wild stuff that goes in our minds, and how alcohol and vividness and imagination sometimes conflict and don't go together very well. How do you feel about your smartphone? Well, to explore the hidden risks of seemingly innocuous smartphone use, researchers fed 4,680 days of app usage from 780 study participants into specialized computer models. Researchers then tested whether these models could identify an otherwise anonymous person when provided with only 1 day of their smartphone activity. The amount of time spent on different apps, minus any specifics about how they were used. Our models, which were trained on only 6 days of app usage per person, could identify the correct person from a single day of anonymous data about a third of the time. Now that might not sound like much, but when asked to produce a list of the most to least likely candidates from among the participants, the models listed the correct user among the top 10 most likely candidates 75% of the time. In practical terms, a law enforcement investigation seeking to identify a criminal's new phone from knowledge of their historic phone usage could reduce a candidate pool of approximately 1,000 phones to 10 phones, with only a 25% risk of missing them. Consequently, the researchers warned that access to a smartphone's standard activity logs could make a reasonable prediction about a user's identity. And identification is possible with no monitoring of conversations or behaviors within apps themselves. Now that's scary stuff. Well, I have your phone, and I know who you are, and I know where you live. And I can tell just based on the app activity that this is your phone and not my phone, and not your sister's phone or your friend's phone, because I know what you look at. And if you think about it, there are a lot of us who just use 2 or 3 apps a day all day. And there are other people who use completely different apps all day, every day. And so your app usage, your thirst for knowledge and entertainment, becomes a biological marker in many ways to law enforcement. Now, would it stand up in court? Maybe not. But if they're looking for fingerprints or DNA and they have 1,000 phones to look at, and then they can look at your app usage and say, the burner phone is one of 10 instead of one of 1,000. Well, that's our show for the day. We had a wonderful chat about Ethereum and crypto prices and collecting art. We talked about how NFT art, especially from Sabet, teaches facial expressions in American Sign Language. Very interesting stuff. We talked about the perils of taxation and cryptocurrencies and buying and selling art. Oh boy, look out. The accounts are going to have a wonderful day with you when they get their hands on your crypto logs. And we talked about protein and tinnitus and new vegetarian food and how no sperm goes unturned. Everybody knows who you are based on your sperm profile. So remember when you donated sperm 20 years ago? And this year when you spat into a 23andMe vial and put it online, and now you get a knock on your door. Hey, I'm your daughter from 20 years ago. Wait a minute, who? What? There is no anonymity anymore, including sperm donors. If you have a question or comment, please contact me via email, david@boles.tv. If you have a question for Jana Marie, jana@boles.tv. We're online Twitter, David Boles, Facebook, Boles, YouTube, Boles Blues, Boles.live. We're on Twitch right now, Boles TV is the username. Instagram, Boles Books, TikTok, Boles TV, and our Discord server. We're getting it going. This right here invites you to join us anytime you please. So until tomorrow, I wish you a very good day. I will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. I hope your day is filled with joy and not sorrow. And I hope you sleep well and wake up to a wonderful, bright, and sunny, soulful, joyous moment. Take care. I'll see you soon.